Lana sucks lemons across from me, and I am progressing abominably, and I do not know my own way to the sea, but the salty sea knows its own way to me.
What do you think sustainable fashion is?
Basically using products in fashion that's not dangerous to, I guess, the planet.
Sustainable fashion is something that is endless.
The future of a successful and sustainable fashion industry is down to us. Four like-minded individuals challenge conventional thinking, altering us to new possibilities and exploring new relationships that change how we design, make and wear clothes. Fashion moves at an incredible pace. It's sometimes hard to take note of the latest offerings and trends. New materials, processes, reworking the old.
Because it's something around beauty that disarms people, and when you're disarmed you can smuggle in all sorts of things.
I think there is a new trend now in fashion looking for sustainable materials. I think this trend is real and it is actually a very important one.
I have noticed, like, from friends of mine, from like family members of mine, that the situation is changing. Like, there's a massive difference in the attitude towards like what to buy, what to wear, like what lasts longer.
Consumer buying net on our current high street wants a constant new, and the constant new cannot be sustained at this level without it seriously affecting the future of our planet.
Something from the right place rather than, using or like buying like one piece that costs you like £3 or like £1 from somewhere that's like not made with any thought or any kind of intention, and and in the end that piece becomes something that I use that someone else has thrown away.
Maybe we can't compete in price, but can we afford to continue this way? I mean, if you think that, I think only in the UK you've got 2 million pairs of shoes thrown away in the bin every week. Thinking about the millions of tons of landfill clothes that we put into the earth, we can't continue like this. So if you think about that, yes, we can compete. If you think of the long-term responsibility, we can compete, and we compete well.
Like, my mum actually gave me a sewing machine, and at the same time a friend of mine gave me a car full of old clothes, like her clothes, her mum's clothes, her grandpa's clothes, her grandma's clothes. It was like so much stuff of everything that I didn't like know what anyone was going to do with them. And at the same time, like, some of them were so ugly, and I knew that I could like make them so much more beautiful.
So the development of new materials made with pineapple leaf fiber. I think you start with a leaf, you see the fibers, then you really think, what am I going to do with this? I'm developing a material which is this leather alternative. Then I think, what products can we use? So it is really exciting from beginning to end. Very versatile and very sustainable, which is really what I like about.
To end up with a final product that is not only wearable but sustainable, using byproducts from the food industry and using other materials that eventually, when mass production has gone out the window for what we know as today the current high street, we've got other materials that we can potentially look towards.
I think leather will always be used in fashion. It has always been used and it is a luxury item, but I think it's just about the right time to think about, is there something different? Is there something that is more sustainable, and to give people choices. If they want to have something which is more sustainable, more ethical, I've got this. And if I want a beautiful bag made of leather, I have this, but at least to have choices.
And we started this conversation about the intelligence of materials and quite how far we could push that. So category clothing is a concept that harnesses a surface area that's there all the time that we don't use very much. That means our textile surface area, which is at nanoscale the equivalent of a sort of football pitch that we're all walking around, which is doing nothing. At least not in terms of being able to do more than, clothes keeping us warm or saying a little bit about our style and therefore how we communicate to the other.
Everything needs to be recycled. Everything should come from something that's been used, and the transition of change from one thing to another and showing how things what might otherwise be thrown away, they can be something which can be used if you just take a different perspective on it. In a way, it's like telling a story by itself, that I can look at this braid and I know that that was made from 3 different pieces of lace that my Brazilian friend gave me in India last year. This piece of fabric here comes from a second-hand store in San Francisco. There's other pieces around here, like the gaze was given to me by another friend.
I always find that at the beginning you go through a really ugly stage where everything you do is ugly. And it's very disheartening because the longer the ugliness goes on, the more unlikely it looks like you'll ever get to anything that's either beautiful, useful or of value.
Everything comes together and everything comes from a different place, and for me that's it's really exciting.
Ideas in mind, I began to play around with materials and processes most importantly, that I had in my day-to-day life. So I started to ask some quite strange questions, which was, can you freeze a bubble? If so, how long for? Will it rehydrate after you've frozen it? And really begin to push the boundaries with what you could do with a single bubble, and then multiplication of it, and whether you could really play and make material from it.
The choice of fabrics is really important to me as well, because I want it to feel and look organic, but at the same time I want that to come from a sustainable source.
Well, I have been working with leather for 15 years, which is a long time, developing wonderful products. So I used to love leather until I started to look into the processes in the making of leather and realized that leather is one of the most environmentally damaging processes of all the materials we're using. And you've got heavy pigments and materials, which are a lot of them are carcinogenic. It pollutes the water, it pollutes the air. It is absolutely awful.
In the current economical and ecological climate, how can we afford to be living with such a throwaway attitude towards fashion? Sustainable fashion can sustain the fashion industry if we all actively start to make different choices. Isn't seeing the impacts our choices have on the fragile world around us enough to challenge the way we make, consume and use fashion? Upcycling, recreating, modifying existing materials, creating brand new materials and adapting fabrics are all viable ways to make a difference and help towards better health and a better environment. I believe fashion could move forward in a new ecological and sustainable way, but we need to be clever, we need to be inventive, we need fashion intelligence.
I look at it in terms of there's a problem that affects the quality of our health, and it's out in the environment, and there's something we can do by being clever with what we already know, and finding a kind of new use for it.
Only good thing in my opinion about throwaway fashion is that I get to use the things which people have thrown away.
you can